All right, shalom, shalom, and welcome once again to Just a Word as we are here for another of our weekly family discussion here on at Just a Word. And we have our weekly discussion every Tuesday, live discussion on a topic that we choose, a topic that comes to us. And I'm here with our brother Hanuk and brother Mikael,
Shalom.
and they will be here with me, assisting me with this expose today. Now, the topic is called out assembly versus church. Before I begin, let me give a disclaimer. We're not here to attack anyone. We're not here to say we are above anyone, or we are so righteous, or we are so doing the right thing and everybody else is wrong, and we are on the way to salvation and everybody else is doomed. No. What we are sharing is our experience. And our calling, the call of Just a Word, is to correct errors. That's from the beginning of Just a Word. That's how it all began. It began with arguments with people on Facebook, and I wrote articles in order to correct, to set the conversation straight, to avoid arguments. And then it went into videos to explain certain things, and so that is our thing. So whenever you see us do anything, it's not to condemn. And we will not be condemning anyone today, because who knows if we'll be here talking, as Shaul says, after having preached, we ourselves are castaways. That can happen. I can be here preaching to you, and you enter the kingdom and here sitting in damnation. All right? Just always remember that. But we have to speak the truth. And let's go into the truth as it is laid unto us. Called out assembly versus the church. Called out assembly. Now, what is the church? The easiest one. What is the church? Let me see, one of you brothers. What is church as we are looking at it today?
Well, from what I understand it to be, church is what the Most High laid out that we would be in Deuteronomy. First, you have to know who you are as a people. And once you discover that you're part of Yasharal, then you'll discover what's supposed to happen to you if you don't follow the ways of the Most High. And in Deuteronomy chapter 28, it goes through a long list of things that will happen to us if we were to stop following his way. And there's, I think I counted 53 verses in Deuteronomy 28.
68.
Well, about the bad things that will happen to us.
Yes.
53 that were just strictly things that were going to be, if you do not do this. I started at a particular verse, 15, and that's when I went all the way down to the bottom. And one of them had the words wood and stone, and that's where my focus was at. We would be serving other gods made of wood and stone in a land of our captors. And to me, church is built around the wood and the stone, and a lot of the buildings and a lot of the idols that they give us are made of that. And it's that system that they put us in that will let us know what it is.
For me, church now is a lot different from where church once were in the biblical days. And further than that, churches now is a place where we can
Hold on. There was no church in the biblical days.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Well, forgive me, but to me, a church is a place where people that are supposed to be like-minded, seeking and trying to serve the Most High would come and congregate and teach, preach, and listen to each other. That's what I believed church was supposed to be.
What's supposed to be? Go again.
Was supposed to be. But can I go into what I found?
In terms of?
In terms of what we have been shown in church is that it's based pretty much around looks, based around money. It has worldly statues now that stands out more, or that is more pronounced than what it's supposed to be about, and that's supposed to be about coming together and serving.
All right. Let me just take it from there.
Yes.
So that's what it has become now.
Yes.
But we have to look at the history of church, because you spoke about church in the old days, and I was telling you that that's not the biblical, that's not what the church was back in the days.
Yes.
And Christianity, the church as we know it of modern day, it's actually in the Bible, in the book of Revelations. And people, we would have presented this much better if this was a teaching, but remember it's a discussion, so as things come up, we speak. Never planned and haven't planned anything that to do today, so bear with us if we are clumsy with getting things together, or we don't get things together as quickly as you would like. All right. So in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verses 6 and 15, it speaks about the modern church. It says, "But this thou hast," let me get the Bible on the screen, please. "But this thou hast, that thou hatest the deeds of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate." The Nicolaitan system, the church system of today, it is in Revelation 2. Christians are there talking about Revelation, not realizing that Christianity is actually in the book of Revelation. Let's go to verse 15. "Repent, or else," not 15. "So hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which thing I hate." We have been telling people that Jesus Christ is a false apostle. We did a video entitled "Who is Jesus Christ?" that will go more into that, to show that Jesus Christ is a one of the false messiahs that Messiah spoke about in Matthew 24. So what they did, they set up a Nicolaitan system. What is a Nicolaitan system? Nicolaitan system is a system of control that came from the Gentiles. Our system was that we had the temple, and then there were synagogues in different communities where there is not the temple. Our people were required to go to the temple on certain occasions. Yes?
Yes.
And so on the other occasions, they would go to the synagogue. Now, when people like the Apostle Shaul went and spread the good news, what they call gospel, into Europe, they went into Rome, and we have the gospel of the Romans. When they went into Rome, the Romans, as we know the Gentiles, and the Most High knew this by design, because the Gentiles took the gospel and made it their own. There's a reason in Isaiah 14. There's a reason in Isaiah 14 why the Gentiles have to be possessed by us. Because wherever the Gentiles are, especially the Edomites, they want to rule.
Yes, sir.
So when Shaul brought the good news to Rome, the headquarters was at Jerusalem. When Jerusalem was destroyed, the Romans took the religion and started to make it their own. In the beginning, when he was speaking to the Romans, these were righteous people who were following the way that he was speaking to. But over time, Rome took it and made it political and made it now about rulership, because religion is about the mind. What am I doing there? Religion is about the mind. If you control the mind, you control the person. So Rome used the religion in order to control their kingdom. They cannot use Yahuwah to control their kingdom, so they have to use their gods.
Yes.
So that is why they set up their own system of control, which is to control the power. The system of our people was controlled through Jerusalem, through the priests that the Most High set up, the priesthood, the Levites, the sons of Aaron, the priests, and the Levites. That was the system of control. So now the Romans took it and set up their own system of control with the remnants we see as the papacy today. Totally different. Their own priesthood. This is the priesthood of the Gentiles. So when they set up their priesthood, they had to make it their own. So they rebranded it and came up with the Nicolaitan system. You have the Israelite temple system, and then now you have the Nicolaitans. The word Nico comes from Nike, which means victory. Laos, it's really Nikolaos. Laos means people. Nicolaitan is victory over the people, which means rulership over the people.
Yes.
So they rule the people through this church system. The system of the church is that the state indirectly runs and owns the church, and then very similar to the Israelite system. And then each church has their system of ownership where the pastor is at the top, and then you have people come in and they bring their wealth in and give, and the pastor collects it. The pastor gets some and brings it to the head office, which is why the Vatican is the richest church in the world. So rich, their riches are innumerable because they suck from everywhere and it goes right up to the Pope. Now, here is another trick that they use. The fathers, that they call them the priests.
Yes.
Their priests are base. They live base lives. So that the money, they don't have no need for the money. Yeah?
Yes.
The priests don't even have wives. They take chastity, so they have no need for a family. So all the money sucks up and goes to the top, where there is the power. And because of that, they have power over the world through this church system. Now, that is the Catholics, and the other Christians will say, hey, but we are not Catholics. It's the same system that you use. Any assembly that uses this system of governance, it's a top-down system whereby those at the bottom enrich those at the top. And even our Hebrew Israelite brothers who have their camps, it's the same thing that they do. It's the same system. Now, what is consistent in this system is the movement of wealth and concentration in one power. One power. Now, all the churches that I know, the Christian churches, come off the same system.
Yes, sir.
All of them have all the same system. And so it is not about a nation anymore. It's about individuals. The called out assembly is the calling together of a nation, of a people, of a righteous people. And before we go further, as I say righteous, the other main difference between the called out assembly and the church is that the church, as the Christians will tell you, is a hospital for
Sinners.
sinners.
Yes. Yes.
A hospital for sinners. That's not the Most High's called out assembly. And we're going to look at verses to show you. The Most High's called out assembly is not a place for sinners. Sinners stay outside. And if they repent and be immersed and are believed by those who are leading as being worthy to come among the other brethren, then they will be accepted. That's how it goes. Why is that? Oil and water cannot mix. You cannot have sinners and righteous people together.
That's right.
Satan is going to use the sinners to destroy the righteous people. That is consistent. And this is something that I've learned over time. Getting people, just because people are interested, you bring people in with you. No, no, no. People have to be righteous, or else Satan is going to use them to destroy. The thief comes but to steal, kill, and do what?
Destroy.
And destroy. So, the called out assembly is for righteous people. Let's go to that in the book of Acts. We're going to look at the called out assembly in the book of Acts. Any of you brothers have anything to say before I go any further?
You just mentioned that
Hold on, let me get your face on the screen. Yeah.
the church is a hospital for sinners, and that a called out assembly has to evaluate and to make sure someone's immersed, because you don't want sinners mixing with your called out assembly. And that reminds me of the scripture about leaven and why we don't use leaven on certain times. You don't want to mix leaven or have leaven at particular times, because a little bit of leaven leavens the whole lump.
Yes.
And so a little bit of a sin inside the group, when a group is trying to be perfected, will just spread, and it will cause untold chaos.
And also, Elder, that is a profound difference in an assembly and a church. Church tell you to come as you are. Church would put you, people that are trying to serve him, people that don't care to serve him, people that are just, they're going through the motions all together in a big mixing pot, and try to teach and preach you when you have all that negativity, everything, because sin is like a disease. You have all of that around, and it eventually spreads and it contaminates. Where
Your voice is low. Move that closer.
yes,
Go ahead.
it eventually spreads and contaminates.
Seated on it. All right, go.
That's it. It eventually spreads and contaminates, then contaminating the whole, contaminating everybody or anyone that's in there, whereas an assembly does not. An assembly to me is
Not an assembly, a called out
a
assembly.
called out assembly. To me is exactly what it sounds like. It's an assembly that's been called out by the Most High, and it's drawn out by the Most High. That's pretty much.
All right. And as you spoke about called out, there's so many aspects to this, because even the name that was used for the assembly has been changed. It is a known fact that they changed the name of the assembly to church. The church is a pagan name. And they changed the name from the Hebrew word which is kahal, or what's the other one that starts with M that means feast? Moed. Or the Greek word ecclesia. They changed the word and used the Greek word. What's the Greek word? Is it curious? I don't remember. Huh?
Kerchi.
No, Cronus is the
Kerchi.
god of time. No, they changed the name
Kerchi.
to, which means of the Lord. Let me just give the English. They changed the name to the word church, which means really of the Lord, in which the base of it, though, goes right back to, what you call it? Sorcery, witchcraft, goes right back to some mythology, rather. It goes right back to mythology. It's from the word kirche, which means, what does it mean again? I'm remembering.
It was a goddess Circe.
Yeah, it's a god, yes. It's a goddess called Circe or Kirche. Yeah. And they gave it that name in order to worship their gods, because we know Psalms 95 verse 6, what does it say? This comes from the nations. What does Psalm 95 verse 6 say? I am going there right now. No, man, 96 verse 5. What's wrong with you? 96 verse 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahuwah made the heavens. So when they came and they changed the name to G-O-D and the L-O-R-D and all of those are idols. J-E-S-U-S-C-H-R-I-S-T, all of those are idols. So they changed everything and made us believe, and guess what? Satan is a genius. What they did, they used the Bible, changed up their things in the Bible and everything, and worked their religion in the Bible and tell us that their religion is that what is in the Bible. And because of that, we have been fooled into this false worship. It's one big conspiracy, people. And you might ask, why would they do this? It is for rulership of the world. You rule the minds of the people, and that is how Christianity spread and became the number one religion in the world. It is the religion of conquest. Because when they conquer the places, they come with their religion and get people to be subservient to them by using the religion to make them, what's the word? To make them servile, to make the people servile, to make them
Subservient?
subordinates,
Subordinates. Okay.
to make them subordinates, because they bring their gods and their God Jesus Christ, and when people see that a white man is superior, the God in the Bible is a white man, then white people get the power over the earth. Yeah?
Yes.
So, church is really one big conspiracy. It is not of Yahuwah. It is the Nicolaitan system that is in the Bible. So let's look at the true system that should be in the Bible, the true belief that should be in the Bible. Do you want to read for us, please, Mikhail?
Sure.
Acts chapter 2, verse 39. No, verse 42. To see what a true set-apart assembly is.
Acts 2:42.
Yeah.
And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread and in prayers. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles. And all that believed were together and had all things in common.
And had what?
All things in common.
All that believed were
Together.
and had all things.
In common.
That's the
All
difference.
things common.
All things common. Now, this is the difference. They continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread and in prayers. And fear came upon every soul. You see the first ingredient there?
Yes.
The first ingredient is the fear of Yahuwah. Psalm 111 verse 10 says the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. What is common in religion today is that people do not fear Yahuwah. So because we don't fear Yahuwah, we strive to do that which pleases us, not that which pleases the Most High, for fear of his judgment. Yeah?
Yes.
And many wonders and signs were done by the apostles. And all that believed were together and had all things common. All things common. And the word common there, let's put it on the screen. From G4862, common, that is literally shared by all or several, or ceremonially profane, that's the opposite. Common, defiled, unclean, unholy. So it has a positive and a negative. The positive is that it is shared by all or several. This does not happen in church. When you come to church, everyone has their own, and as a matter of fact, church is the place where people chase down materialism. It is the place where everyone strives to get their own. Everybody wants to have their own. Nobody wants to have all things in common. Nobody wants to share things several. Everybody wants to have their own and boast about their own. That's how we grew up in church, and we would be struggling, and nobody would really care about us and our struggles, but everyone was preoccupied with their own. And when we strove and we got better, we just strove to get better and better, not caring about another man's thing about having anything in common. And so, and read it, verse 45.
And sold their possessions and goods, and parted them to all men, as every man had need.
That's the true set apart assembly. Does this happen in church?
Never.
Not at all.
You see? Church is not in the scriptures. The other day, we looked at the everlasting gospel. And we looked at how there are a lot of things in the Bible, in this gospel, a lot of people are going to be very uncomfortable with. It is a challenging gospel because it challenges you to give up on the old life and to lead a new life now that is not focused on the self, but focused on loving your neighbor as yourself. But focused on loving the Most High with all your heart, mind, and soul. Because what it requires, you will have to love the Most High with all your mind, heart, and soul to be able to accomplish it. You will have to love your neighbor as yourself in order to do it. So tell someone, for example, us being here, many people come and they speak to us and they ask us about like coming to wherever we are or in the country where we are. And you know what they ask? They're asking about where can I get somewhere to rent, where can I this, where can I get somewhere to buy, and can you give me information about this? Coming for the self. The Most High in the end time is not about the self. It's about, from the days of Hamashiach, he told you the greatest commandment. Love Yahuwah with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. In the end time, but we have been cultured in Christianity to ignore this. And we grew up thinking that we were good. But the Most High is showing us now, in the end, that no, you now have to come and walk right because my son is returning, and you have to be perfect. Matthew 5:48. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. It is a perfection, and that perfection is in loving one another and making sacrifice. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the most mercies of Allah, that I present your bodies a living sacrifice, kadosh, and acceptable unto Allah, which is your reasonable service. So this is, and whatever we teach here, people, might not be pleasant, but it is the truth. Because I have to be here looking in this camera, and my conscience has to be clear that what I'm telling you is the absolute truth before the Most High. Yeah? Or else. Because I fear the Most High. All right. So let's go back to the Bible. And sold their possessions and goods and parted them to all men as every man had need. And let me continue. Verse 6. 46, sorry.
And they, continuing daily with one accord in the temple.
All right, hold on. What's the difference between this now and the church system that we know? And they continuing daily with one accord in the temple?
Well, the daily part, church is not just relegated to generally one day, but it's just part of that one day. So you can squeeze out a few hours, and depending on what denomination you're in, my old denomination was a good 3-4 hours, because you started in Sunday school and then worked your way up to the main service. And from 8 o'clock, you might not get to go home until 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, something like that, depending on which reverend was preaching that day. And then we also had to return that night for evening service, 6 p.m., and it might go until 8 p.m., 9, sometimes 10, again, depending on which preacher was preaching. So that was almost the only day. Occasionally, you would have some Bible study, maybe. If it was a voluntary thing, you can go to it. If you didn't want to, you didn't have to go to it. Or they would have a revival service, which might go throughout the week. And that was maybe once or twice a year. But it was definitely never daily. Never daily.
All right. So this is one of the main difference. Daily. Now, you can only do this thing daily. You cannot do this daily in Babylon.
No.
The requirements of Babylon, especially if you're in the heart of Babylon, like Babylon, USA. Babylon, USA is so demanding that you hardly have time even to go on a Sunday, which is why Sunday is just like any other day, really. It's just a day of worship. You go for 1 or 2 hours, and you go and listen, and that's it for the week. You might go in the night, or if you're really devout, you might go to Bible studies in midweek or something like that. But it's not a life that is devoted to the worship of the Most High. Yeah?
Yes.
Let's go back to the word. Verse 46, and they continuing daily with one accord in the temple. This is very important, this one accord. If you come among believers to live among believers, you will understand what it means by what I mean when I say this is very important. Because if you are not in one accord as believers, you are going to be very miserable. Very miserable. Because church has its advantage in the flesh. You have the choice with church. You go when you feel like. You leave when you feel like. You do whatever pleases you. If somebody gets on top of your nerves, you just quarrel and you leave. But in a called out assembly, you have to be with people 24/7 sometimes. You have to be around them and everything like that. So the importance of being one accord cannot be underestimated. estimated. So this one accord in church, it's not important that people are in one accord. As long as everybody brings their tithes and offerings and everybody gets along, the pastor is very comfortable. And breaking bread from house to house, did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart. Now, food or eating is very important. Food is fellowship. Yeah?
Yes, it is.
And food should be fellowship. That's why when we're eating, everything has to be quiet, so it's only the people speaking.
Yes, sir.
Fellowship. If nobody speaks, then the place remains quiet. Breaking bread from house to house. And this is why people go on dates in the world. Yeah?
Yes, right.
If a man wants to win a spouse, he will bring her on a date. And they will go to a restaurant and they will eat and they will talk and there they get to know each other. Yeah? It is also so with believers. Eating is fellowship. It is important that we eat together. Breaking of bread from house to house. So even though they lived in different houses, they went to different houses.
Yes, sir.
Like your house would be the day today for food. The next day would be another person's house. Yes?
Yes.
But they would all meet in the temple. Did eat their meat with gladness and what? Singleness of heart. So this singleness of heart here is very important. It was the opposite that was speaking about in the book of Jacob or James 1 verse 8 when he said, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Single-mindedness or singleness of heart is the opposite of double-minded. So when you eat with singleness of heart, it means all of you are focused on the same thing. All of you on the same thing. So double-mindedness is when you are focused on one thing and the other thing and you're caught between two roads. It's like, as Amashiach said, you cannot serve Allah and Mammon. That's double-mindedness.
Yes.
You want to serve this world and you want to serve Yahuwah. And that is what church presents to you. Church presents a world in which you can partake and love the world and still assure yourself that you are serving Yahuwah. But which verse counters that? What I just said. You can love the world and you can partake of Yahuwah. Which verse? Jeremiah.
Mammon.
No, I already said that one. You love the world and you want to serve Yahuwah.
Double-mindedness, which is
1 John 2:15. No. 1 John 2:15. Read it, please.
Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
All right. So they want to love the world and still serve Yahuwah. Even though Yahuwah told them in the book that if you love the world, his love is not in us. Yes? So we have to decide what we want to do. Do we want to love the world or do we want to love the word? You can monitor the chat. You're monitoring the chat, Jeremiah. Let's see if there are any questions. So when we finish. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to if there's anything else in the book of Acts. Where are we? Verse 47?
Yes. Praising Alua and having favor with all the people. And Yahuwah added to the assembly daily such as should be saved.
Just such as?
Should be saved.
Yahuwah added to the assembly daily. How do you think the Most High added to the assembly?
They were getting the word out, and as Yahuwah saw fit, he brought more to him.
How did he? Because the difference with church, as we were telling you, is that church is a hospital for sinners.
Sure.
It is Yahuwah who added to the assembly. It's not us that added to the assembly. How did Allah add to the assembly? Go to Acts 2:38. Because we're in Acts 2:42. What happened before Acts 2:42? Go to Acts 2:38, please.
Then Peter said unto them, Repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, for the remission of sins, and ye shall receive the gift of Ruach HaKodesh.
Read 39, please.
For the promise is unto you and to your children and to all that are far off, even as many as Yahuwah our Lua shall call.
Yep. Even as many as Yahuwah Allah shall do what?
Shall call.
And down the bottom there it says Yahuwah added to the assembly daily. So how did he add to the assembly?
He called them, they heard his voice.
But how did he add to the assembly?
That's sending out the word.
Oh, that's just beat it. Tell them, Armiel.
He spoke to their spirit by them hearing the word.
You need a whipping as well. Baptism.
Baptism.
Those who were to be called were baptized before they enter into the
The
assembly. So it's not. Yeah, go ahead.
Call them through baptism.
No, he called them, and baptism was their way through. Because baptism is their entrance into Hamashiach.
Thought they said how they call it.
Yeah? Yeah, that's how they got called. They got called through baptism. He called them to the assembly through
the
baptism.
baptism.
They
Those
had
that
to
were
go
willing.
through baptism. to
Those
go
that
enter.
was willing, though, right? That's
Huh?
how he. That's how he was. There was some that was willing, and some that weren't, or everyone.
Yes, in other words, for you to join the assembly of believers, you had to be baptized. And that was your ticket, that was your entry ticket into the
Yes.
assembly.
Yes.
You repent, baptize, and then go from there.
Yes.
Those that weren't.
So what we are showing, though, is the difference between it and modern day Christianity. Christianity, anyone comes off the road and jumps into the church.
You could come in.
And
from
later
the-
on, they talk about baptism or either receiving what we call the Ruach, receiving the Holy Spirit or the Ghost. And
Well,
everything
you
like
can
that.
go into church smelling like yesterday, and everybody knows what you were doing on Saturday on the Sabbath because you were either had a smell of alcohol on you or the smell of other
Perfumes or anything like that.
things that you might smoke. You, all of that is in your
Sin.
clothes,
Yep.
and you go to church the next day, and that's all okay as long as you have those ties available.
And you didn't have to worry anyway because JC would forgive you for all of that. It's okay. It's okay. You smell like this. You
Right, all right, when you're talking, you have to talk one constant.
One time something.
Not like when you're just conversing with you. You have to talk low because your voice is low. Go ahead.
Understood. And just come in the way you are. We're going to take you in as you are, and not even try to fix you.
Yeah, that's how it is. So let's look again. I think Acts 5, Acts 4 should give us a little more of the entry thing, how you enter. No, probably. Acts 4:32 again, to look at the set apart assembly. Read it, please.
And the multitude of them that believed were of one heart and of one soul. Neither said any of them that aught of the things which he possessed was his own, but they had all things common.
Wow. You see how demanding the everlasting covenant is? Because you cannot enter into Zion as a possessor. You have to enter into Zion as a sharer. As a sharer. Because the Most High is interested in us fulfilling the two greatest commandments, to love him with all our hearts, minds, and soul, and to love our neighbor as ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And in that way, we have to be sharers. Sharers. They had all things in common. Neither said any of them that aught of the things which he possessed was his own, but they had all things common. Verse 33.
And with great power gave the apostles witness of the resurrection of Yahusha, our Master. The great grace was upon them all.
Continue.
Neither was there any among them that lacked. For as many as were possessors of lands or houses sold them, and brought the prices of the things that were sold.
All right. Neither was there any among them that lacked. In church, and when we're talking about church, we're not talking about Christianity only. We're talking about everywhere, almost everywhere where people are assembled, where they do not have this common thing. The set apart assembly, we must have all things in common to fulfill the good news of the Most High. Now, when we were not, before this end time here, the Most High allowed us and said, okay, in our blindness, okay, we were in Christianity and all sorts of things in our blindness. Now, my people, it's the end of the age. We have to go to perfection. It is a time of obedience. It is a time now to return to the truth of the scriptures. Because the end time call is in Zephaniah chapter 2 when he says, gather yourselves together. Yea, gather yourselves together, nation not desired. The end time call is for us to return to the Acts 2 assembly and get out of the false church. Let me go back to the Bible. Neither was there any among them that lacked. Where were we? Yeah, start from there.
Neither was there any among them that lacked. For as many as were possessors of lands or houses sold them, and brought the prices of things that were sold, and laid them down at the apostles' feet, and distribution was made unto every man according as he had need.
All right. Distribution was made unto every man according as he had need. It was laid down at the apostles' feet, and distribution was made unto every man according as he had need. And we're talking here about a whole lot of people. That those who had came and shared among those who had not. Verse 36.
And Hosus, by way the apostles, was surnamed Barnabas, which is, being interpreted, the son of consolation, a Levite, and of the country of Cyprus. Having land, sold it, and brought the money, and laid it at the apostles' feet.
And laid it at the apostles' feet. And we know in Acts 5, we have the unfortunate incident to show you how serious the Most High was. Probably look at it. To show you how serious the Most High was about this thing. Now, today, you can hardly tell people about this. Many people are hearing this. Will be saying, oh, you know how hard I worked to get where I was, where I am. How hard I was to come and just this, and just do this, and just do that. That's how it is. And that's how the Most High charted it. That's just how he sets up his thing for the end time. Now, church is nowhere in what we just spoke about. Church is an individual thing where everybody does and seeks after their own and for the own of their families. When you come together in a called out assembly, it is calling out to unite as one. Everyone now becomes one. It's not now about my family, but now the entire assembly becomes my family because we have one thing in common, and that we were called out of this world. Now, the importance of called out is hand picking. Hand picking. And this hand picking is in the book of Isaiah. Come on, move away. Let me get it going here. Where is it? Oh, I'm coming. All right, coming up. And it's Jeremiah 3. Jeremiah 3, verse 14.
Turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahuwah, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion.
This is how the Most High gathers in the end times. He just picks out people. That's why it's called the called out assembly, where he just calls out his people and picks out his people for the end time. Jeremiah 16, about verse 16. Go from verse 14.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that it shall no more be said, Yahuwah liveth, that brought up the children of Yasharel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahuwah liveth, that brought up the children of Yasharel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I have gave unto their fathers. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith Yahuwah,
You see it? He's fishing out people.
and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters,
Hey.
and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks.
So the Most High goes and selects. That's why it's his called out assembly. He goes and he selects who he is putting together. He is the one that handpicks them. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, I think you had something. Almost the whole thing is based on laying a foundation. You had some things that you had written down or questions or whatever. Let's go to them now, brothers.
Well, one of the things that's relevant about Jeremiah is that Most High said, I will send out fishers and hunters. And that to me is speaking about how the Most High will first get set apart teachers.
That's right.
Those set apart teachers are, I think, the first step in getting his set apart people called out. When the Spirit is moving, especially in these end times, the Most High, the Spirit, I believe, says something to us. And so we will go a seeking with our whole heart, mind, and soul. And once you've made up in your heart that you want to reach out to the Most High, and this is just speaking personally about me, when I had decided that, that's when I found a good teacher. Not very many followers on YouTube, yet still, that's what popped up in my feed. And once I saw, I was able to know that, this fisherman had caught me. I was caught. I was hunted and caught, and that was it. I knew where I needed to be because it matched the spirit that was calling in my heart had led me to. So I do believe that it's important that the Most High, well, of course it's important, that's what he did. He called out his teachers first, his fishers, his hunters, and then those are the ones who go and get his called out assembly, gathers them together.
All right. And what you're speaking about is Jeremiah 3:14 to 15. Go ahead. Read it, please. We did 14 already. Read 14 into 15.
Jeremiah 3,
Yes.
14 into 15. Turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahuwah, for I am married unto you. And, oh, you said 13.
14 to
14
15.
14 to 15, okay. I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you unto Zion. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
All right. So
That's
that's what
exactly
you just
true.
spoke about.
Yes.
All right. What's next?
Let's see.
Well, the pastors, since we're comparing the called out assembly versus church, a traditional church pastor isn't someone that calls you out. He may invite you as a matter of fact, because pastors do invite people to attend church service, but he's doing that to everybody. There is no kind of selection process, no evaluating. It's a numbers game with them. And so I think that's one of the big differences between a called out assembly and church is how those fishers are calling out that assembly that they have. One calls them out with a lot of scrutiny, and the other is just a blanket statement, a big
Whosoever will
wide
make
net.
'em.
Yes,
Whosoever will make them.
wide net versus the hook.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. And what's next?
To me, what a call out assembly is too. They are believers. They believe that black people are the chosen people. Not all, but for the most part, that we are the real Hebrews.
I don't think so, really. We could use that.
We can use that like
No, because you have people who, I think you have some people from different nations who try, few people who try. Maybe you may be right, because I guess.
Can I clarify?
Yeah,
What I was trying to say is that
yeah.
that are chosen, his people from the very beginning. His people, the ones that he set up a covenant with, the ones that he would break bread with. That's what I was trying to come across and say, but it didn't come out.
What about them?
What about
His people.
his people?
Yeah.
His people are the ones who he has set a covenant with. But
I kind
because
of get what you're saying.
yes,
Because the called out assembly, as was in the book of Acts, was with his people.
with his yes,
So his people are really the true subject of the called out assembly.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that is so.
Yes, sir.
I misunderstood you. So his people, the called out assembly is really his people and his people in charge.
Yes, sir.
Because in the book of Isaiah chapter 14, verses 1 to 2, it tells you that Yahuwah will yet have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Yasharal. So if he's fishing and if he's hunting, he's going to be hunting and fishing Israelites,
Yes, sir.
all right, into his set apart
Exactly.
assembly. And they will be the ones who rule and run his set apart assembly.
Yes.
The Gentiles, the strangers, will be joined with them, will be cleaving to them, but they will be owned or possessed by the children of Yasharal. That's what the prophecy says. This prophecy has never, ever been fulfilled. It must be fulfilled. So the set apart assembly will be run, ruled, operated by, led by his people.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
But the church believes that everyone, well, I would say they're training us now to believe that we are all equal. We are all going to, we are not different at all. We're not set apart at all, and that up on the JC, that everyone through repentance or seeking forgiveness have a chance to be raptured up or taken up by JC.
If you can keep your voice consistently louder, yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. That will be raptured up or taken up by JC. And that is a fallacy also. One of them that the church always implements, always speaks about, and how the Bible itself, how would I say it, brother? Lift them up by giving them a Messiah that is white, and pretty much the whole cast,
It's giving them
Bible
equal
cast,
standing.
giving them equal standing
Equal standing with the with the
with
Most
the
High's children. Yeah, church has. Think what you.
Saying is that it doesn't matter who you are.
It doesn't matter who you are.
That it doesn't matter who you are, and they teach a false language.
Yeah, they call
Yeah,
it
yeah.
replacement theology, I do believe.
Yeah, so they now become the subject of the
the
entire
whole,
book.
Yeah.
sir.
They replace the children of Yasharal.
Yep.
But with the everlasting good news, the everlasting gospel is a return to truth. Is a return to righteousness. The everlasting gospel is straightening out everything that was error. This is the importance of the everlasting gospel. Remember, we grew up in error. Christianity is an erroneous religion that took us away from the truth. The everlasting gospel is a restoration back to the truth. That is why Jeremiah said in Jeremiah 6:16, stand in the way and see, and go back to the old path, which is the good way, and you will find what? Rest for your souls. This is a restoration going back now to the old path, which is the good way. So that is what the everlasting gospel does. It is actually the gospel in its fullness, starting from Genesis right down to Revelation, the whole fullness. But it shows us how to walk in its perfection and in its righteousness. All right?
No.
All right. Who else?
Yeah, the old path, you had to be having a set apart life. And I do believe that it was evident by how you lived back in the days of our forefathers when they had the temple and they did the things according to the Torah, versus nowadays where there is no temple, there is no nation. People are able to pretend and to appear as if they are living a particular life when they're probably not. I'm not quite sure how to say. It's just the difference between the surface of Christianity and how you can be a particular way, you can seem a particular way, but behind the scenes there is much, much evil going on. For instance, the issue with the Catholic priest. These priests are supposed to be at a particular level of righteousness. They listen to sins. They have the power to forgive sins. But in the background, what they were doing with a lot of the little ones was not a good thing. And it was rampant. And even when it was discovered, not too much happened to them. The world just kept moving on along. Everybody continues to do what they're doing because it's all just what they do. And that kind of thing is not how the set-apart assembly is supposed to be. Back in the day, that kind of thing in a set-apart assembly could get you, stoned.
Yes.
Or worse. And the Most High, I do believe, has separated the earth and put people in holes. personally.
The reason they are like that, the Catholics are like that, though, is idolatry. Idolatry brings with it all sorts of sexual sins, which is why they had, in their idol worship, back in the days, they had temple prostitutes. And these were young men that they had homo dealings with, because it was just a part of worshiping, idol worship. And this is in the book of Romans. So we want people to get an insight into why you are so many times you see and hear about homo relationships in the church, and here is why. It is in the book of Romans, chapter 1. As long as you're in idolatry, remember, it says all the gods of the nations are idols. So when we worship JC and God, we are worshiping idols. Read Romans 1:21. No, but verse 9 to 20.
20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power of
And sovereignty.
so that they are without excuse. Because that, when they knew Yahuwah, they glorified him not as Eluah, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the splendor of the uncorruptible Alua into an image made like to corruptible man and to birds.
Hey, who's
and
that corruptible man?
JC.
JC.
And four-footed beast and creeping things.
You're going to see why homosexuality is so rife in Christianity. Continue.
Wherefore Alua also gave them up to uncleanness through their lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of Yahuwah into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. So let it be.
You see it? That's why homosexuality, and not only that, sexual problems, immorality is so rife among the pastors and in the Christian church. This is it. The Most High has given them up. As long as you're in idolatry, and because they have swapped out Yahuwah and brought in Jesus Christ. Bam. The Most High gave them up to dishonor their own bodies. Verse 26.
For this cause Alua gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use into what is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meet.
Continue.
And even as they did not like to retain Alua in their knowledge, Alua gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient.
All right, we could go on and on into the different sins, but this is why they get in so much trouble. The Catholic priests, etc., get in so much trouble. They are idolaters. And from your idolaters, something just brings in all of those sexual immorality with it. Huh? Yeah, this is Ruach of Anti-Messiah. Yeah.
Elder, do you think it might be a coincidence that the sexual immorality and that word sex, when you spell it backwards, that's what John saw in Revelations,
What's that?
the XES.
Oh, yes.
I've always thought that is just, for some reason, that caught my eye, that it's backwards sex. And that's the Antichrist mark,
Yes.
is backwards sex.
Yes.
And I don't know, for some reason, that's always caught my eye when
Yeah,
I
that's-
first saw it.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. It was very interesting. You'll never know. You'll never know. These people are so evil. You'll never know. All right, anything else?
What I have is another thing that called out that is difference between a called out assembly and a church is whom we serve, which is extremely important. In church, Yahuwah does not have a name. They call him J-O-D. They call him sometimes
G-O-D.
G-O-D. They call him sometimes L-O-R-D. They never give him a name, as if he's just a thing. Whereas in a called out assembly, we know his name. Also,
But there are called out assemblies that still use that G-O-D and L-O-R-D.
it's true.
Because there's a famous one there, and even though he knows that his name is Yahuwah, he might call him, he calls him Yah, I think. But he still uses those carnal names.
So not every.
Yeah,
Not every called out assembly.
no.
And also, if you don't mind me saying, the church believes in the Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
They believe that Yahuwah and Yahusha, and I believe we could say the Ruach too, are all in one. They all encompass in one, which is a big fallacy itself. Whereas the Bible speaks constantly of the separation between Father and Son.
And Ruach.
And Ruach, in fact. Between Yahuwah being the Father, Yahusha being the Son, but yet and still in the churches now, they still hold tight to that belief.
One of the major difference between both of them, though, is that the called out assembly is a testing ground, a place of perfection. It is that place where the Most High brings you, where you can be perfected. Because you're going to have people around you, constantly around you, and you have to make them your family. Remember, you grew up in a family. And you might have taken on a wife, but you learn to make her your family. And you make her a family for necessity to also continue the process of making a family. But when you come among people, different cultures, especially like an assembly like ours, different cultures, different languages, different countries, different everything, the challenge for you is to take all of that and to become one. To be in one accord. And we understand the genius of the Most High in this. Because being Israelites, Yasharal, from different countries, the only way we can become one is that unity of being of knowing who we are. Everything else is going to make us want to appear and remain different. I am from this country, I am from that country, and my country, I don't do this country. But when you come together as Yasharal, you now have to figure out how all of you from all these different places are going to become one. And this is the wilderness of the people. This is when the Most High brings the people together in one place, and they have to figure out how to make it through. Or else, he says he's going to purge from among them the rebels and those that transgress against me. It is one big acid test. Church is no test. Church is no test at all. When I used to go to church, you used to know that you would see this person in church this week, You might not see them. Sometimes you don't see them for even a month. They say, hey, where were you? Everything. Oh, I was busy. And people go to church when they feel like. And then they spend the 1 or 2 hours together for the week. Then they might call each other during the week, or they might see one another